We're live.
Hi.
Hello. How's your day going, Min?
It's good. It's a little stressy, but such is life.
Such is life. Yeah, I I feel frazzled today, which I saw you comment saying what's new about that. What day do you not feel frazzled? But you know how when you have those days where it feels like you're just really struggling to kind of focus and you have like a million conflicting priorities and then maybe it's just me. I don't know. I have a really hard time being like all of them are priorities, so I don't know which one to do first. And then I start
Yeah.
like working on one and then I'm like, well, let me just jump over to that one. And I just want to like check tasks off, but I feel like I'm
Yeah.
kind of working on everything at once.
It's really weird that you say that because I woke up like that today too. So I
Hmm.
wonder if there's something going on with the planets. But because like I woke up and I slept in past like what I normally like my normal alarm. And I was dead. Like I woke up and I'm like, I think I had like the one dream the entire night, like the entire duration of like my sleep. I'm pretty sure I was in like one dream. So I woke up and I'm like, where the hell am I? And I was like, oh my God, I cannot, like, I can't get up right now. I'm so tired. So I slept in like 20 minutes later. And then I just kind of like pissed me off because I was already kind of like rushing, and then I went downstairs to like my apartment gym and it was packed and like so humid down there. And I'm like, nope, I'm
Hate
not doing
that.
this. I can't do it. It's just going to piss me off. And then so I just like started working like earlier in the morning, but then I was like multitasking like a mother effer, like one thing to the other to the other. That's why I was like sending you slacks at like 6:30 in the morning, be like, which this do you like? Which that do you like? But yeah, I
No.
feel the same way where I'm like my brain is all over the place and I'm just trying to do everything. But
Well, there's it's also because there's so much to do right now, like in our business. Do you know what I mean? So it
yeah,
feels like everything is like a fire drill. Everything's a priority. There's like 500 things that need to get done. But then at the same time, I like want to do fun things like, find something cute to wear for Valentine's Day and like, let me check out this supplement or try that protein
yeah,
powder. And I don't want to like do the work, but I really want to do the work at the same time.
I
I
know.
can't explain it.
I know. I was like that where I'm like ordering like gifts for people and like doing this, and then I I keep forgetting that we are out of coffee. And I kept being like, okay, like I would like see it and then be like, oh shit, go order the coffee on Instacart so it like gets delivered here today before I wake up tomorrow. I don't have any. Kept forgetting, so I literally had to get the empty coffee tin out and like put it on my desk until like I just had time to order the coffee. Otherwise, I just would forget. That's the kind of day I feel like I'm having today. But
Joe does that with everything. He just like he will forget things if he does not like put it on the counter or put it in like his line of vision. And that really drives me crazy. So like right now we have like a coffee tin, we have like the toothpaste is out on the counter and he's like, "Why do you keep putting it away?" I'm like, "Why do you keep taking it out?" Like
you should make him like a box and then just put all of the things that he has to remember to do in the box and then be like, just look in the box like once a day.
I feel like that's what I did when I gave him the spare room in the back of the house. I'm like, this is your room to keep all of your mess in, but like somehow it's still just like, I don't know, it spreads. I said to him the other
Yeah.
day, I'm like, your stuff is like an octopus. Like it just has tentacles and it takes over the house.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I don't know. I get that though. But anyways, I feel like this is very fitting because today's episode that we want to talk about is all about stress, which is I think is gonna be helpful for just about everyone. And if you're listening to this, if you're like, "Ugh, okay, well, I already know that stress is bad for me, like tell me something else. I just want to take a second and say that we are not here on this episode to demonize stress. We're going to talk about like just kind of what cortisol is, how stress is actually normal, how it can be helpful in certain situations, and then also the downside of it. Okay, so stress is normal. Okay, and cortisol, which is your body's main stress hormone, is actually really important. Okay, so stress itself is not necessarily a problem. Okay, it's how long you stay stressed that can be the problem. All right, when your stress is temporary, your body is able to handle it perfectly fine. Okay, But when it becomes chronic, when you're constantly overwhelmed, you're constantly running on fumes, you're living in fight or flight mode, that's when it can start affecting your body and your brain and your overall health in ways that you might not even realize. So, like, for example, the way that I am operating today, if I
Mhm.
were acting like this every single day and I could not regulate myself to come out of this was like my normal, that would be like level 8, level 10, like chronic stress that would start to show up in really bad ways, like physically, mentally, emotionally, behaviorally. Okay.
Yeah,
So
but I
what
feel
we
like that's a big part of how you were living, right? And that's a big thing that contributed to your burnout, a year and a half, 2 years ago, was living at that level 10 chronic stress, feeling this like exactly what you're feeling today, but feeling that way every single day.
Yeah. Yeah, it was terrible. And had a lot of health issues because of it, which we're going to dive into a little bit later in the episode. But yeah, I think, today what we really want to do is we want to break down what cortisol actually is, why it's not necessarily a bad thing. We want to talk about the surprising ways that chronic stress messes with your body and your brain. And then how to tell if your cortisol is actually like running the show. Because for me and Jess, a couple years ago, or even, well, I would say like a year and a half ago, cortisol, like it was running the show. We didn't even fully realize it until we realized it. And then what we want to do at the end is give you actionable tools that you can use immediately today to be able to manage your stress, lower your stress, and feel like yourself again. Okay, so let's start with the very basics just to kind of set the tone. So, do you want to explain what cortisol is?
Yeah. So, we've said this in past episodes, but it's really one of my favorite ways to think about cortisol because it gives a really good visual. I want you to think about cortisol like your body's built in alarm system, right? It's really just at the end of the day, it's a hormone that is produced by your adrenal glands, and its job is to help you respond to stress, right? So we always use the example, but it's the easiest way, again, to kind of think through this. If you think back to the caveman days and you're chilling in your little cave, you got a fire, you're cozy, you're relaxed. All of a sudden, bam, a lion jumps out of the bushes. Well, your brain does what? It immediately sounds that alarm system, right? It floods your body with cortisol and it puts you in fight or flight mode because if you are face to face with a lion, you really have two choices. You're either going to fight it or you're going to flee as fast as possible, right? So fight or flight, that makes sense. And that cortisol spike is actually really useful in real danger because it's going to help increase your energy, right? It's going to help sharpen your focus, sharpen your reaction time. And really, at the end of the day, like all it's doing is helping you to prioritize survival. Like that is the key. How are we going to survive this, right? So, when you strip it down to the most basic idea, cortisol is basically your body's survival mechanism, right? It gets you through really intense, stressful moments when you are or when you need to be on high alert. But this is where the issue is, okay? This is why it's a problem for 2025. Back in the day, caveman days, that type of stress that was temporary, right? Lion pops out, you're either going to run away, you're going to fight it off, or you're going to hide in your cave until it goes away. Okay? So that threat, that danger that you're experiencing, that's temporary. When the lion goes away or when you're safe, all of a sudden your cortisol levels, they're going to return back to normal. Now, fast forward to 2025, that lion that your body is perceiving as a threat, like, okay, you're not going to walk into your office and see a lion, but now that lion is living with you in the cave 24/7. That lion is now your inbox. It's the endless Zoom meetings. It's the 11 o'clock Slack messages from your boss. It's the back to back deadlines. It's trying to keep your life together, your family, your spouse, juggling your health, your wellness, all of the things that you have on your plate, right? That's your 2025 lion. And the wild part is your brain, your body, it does not know the difference between that threat or that panic that you feel if you actually came face to face with a lion or the threat or panic that you feel when your boss sends you a Slack message at 11 o'clock at night and you're like, oh my God, what did I forget to do today?
I really want to stop and just hammer that point home because I think that really puts it in perspective of you are essentially if you are living with chronic stress, if you have high cortisol like this, you are essentially living with a lion in your home. Like your
Mhm.
body doesn't know the difference between the email that you're checking that you're stressed out about or a lion peeking around the fucking bush, okay, about to attack you. Like that is actually crazy that we have let stress consume us so much that this is just the way that we operate and we don't even realize that it's so bad. Like that we have gotten to that point where where it's so chronic.
Well, this is also the problem, Melissa, is because now, especially with, like the proliferation of social media and technology and all of the ways that we are now reachable, we never really have the opportunity to shut off, right? Instead of stress being a occasional thing like it was when the lion would, appear from the bushes, now it's constant, right? And when stress is constant, that means that your body is continuously pumping out cortisol. And if your cortisol stays elevated for too long, it's going to start showing up in ways that negatively impact you, right? Like you said, emotionally, mentally, behaviorally, even physically, like your physical body, it's going to impact you. Oh, the scary part is, though, a lot of times you don't even realize how that high cortisol and how chronic stress is impacting you. So, do you want to talk about some of the ways that chronic stress can show up and can present itself, especially in high achieving women who are juggling businesses and corporate jobs and families and all of the things that go along with it? Let's talk about how that shows up.
Yeah. So the very first way it shows up is in your brain. Okay. So if you've ever said, oh, I'm so like foggy, have brain fog, or, I feel like I just like can't make a decision for the life of me. I think about, opening your laptop and you're just kind of looking at your inbox, similar to what we were talking about, how we experienced that today ourselves. Like you're looking at your inbox, you're looking at all of your to-dos and immediately you feel overwhelmed. Like you literally can't decide where to start and what task to do first, right? That's decision fatigue. Okay. And it's a very real thing. So when cortisol is chronically elevated, it impacts your prefrontal cortex. So that's like the front part of your brain. So if you put your hand, like your palm on your forehead, like that is your prefrontal cortex right behind that. Okay. That is the part of your brain that handles decision making. It handles focus, it handles problem solving. So you sit down to work, suddenly you forgot what you were about to do. Or maybe you have like 10 different tabs open or 50 like Jessica does, but
Yeah.
somehow, nothing actually gets done. Like you're just like looking at all this overwhelm on your computer. Or, you feel like you're rereading an email 5 times before sending it because your brain is just mush and you're like, God, I don't even know if this like grammatically makes sense, let alone like the messages coming through of what I'm actually trying to say.
Hmm.
Right. So chronic stress, it shrinks the prefrontal cortex and that makes it harder to focus, to retain information, and to think clearly. So if you feel like your brain just isn't braining the way that it used to, your stress might be to blame from that. You might be suffering from chronic stress.
Okay, so the
Okay.
first way that it shows up is like cognitively, right? How your brain is functioning and how you're thinking. Do you want to talk about how it shows up like on your physical body? Because this is something especially that hit me hard. And I'll talk a little bit about it, after you explain how it shows up on your physical body. But the way that my body changed so quickly in such a short period of time when I was chronically stressed, like it was so scary to me and I had no idea what happened. So talk to us a little bit about what happens physically when you are chronically stressed.
Yeah, absolutely. So chronic stress affects your metabolism and it will affect your weight. So if you've ever heard of, having cortisol belly, That's what we're talking about here. And for a lot of women, you might feel like, you're doing everything right. You're eating healthy, you work out, you move, you're active, you drink your greens, you take your supplements, like you drink water, but you're still dealing with that like lower stubborn belly fat. You're bloated all the time. You're fluctuating between cravings and having no appetite. That is likely your stress hormones at work. Okay. Chronic elevated cortisol levels tells your body, hey, we might need to survive a famine soon. So let's store fat in the midsection. Okay. Again, the kind of what Jess was saying in the beginning, cortisol, like our bodies, again, we are, it's that we're wired like we were in the caveman days. So again, your body can't tell the difference between, is that true that we might experience famine or not? It just experiences stress.
Mm.
So your body will store fat in the midsection to prepare for famine. Okay. Or if you're really stressed, the function of digestion is deprioritized because it's not essential. Okay. If you think about like you just ate a meal right outside of your cave and that tiger shows up, your body's not going to be like, well, we need to digest this food first before we run away from the lion. Like that doesn't happen. So every non-essential function in your body is deprioritized when cortisol is really high. Okay. And this is why you're bloated or you have gas, you're not digesting food properly. And the other thing is, if you feel like you need quick energy, you might really be craving sugar and carbs all the time. Okay. And so because of this, you might be feeling puffy, especially around your face or your stomach. Your digestion will be off. You might be constipated. You might be bloated. You might have really weird gut issues going on that you've never really had before. And all of a sudden they're just showing up and you can't seem to get rid of it. Again, you might have like cravings for sugar, for carbs, especially in the afternoon. And then the last thing would be that your weight won't budge. Like no matter how much you're working out, no matter how much like you're eating healthy, maybe your food hasn't really even changed much, but like your weight just won't budge. Okay. And the kicker is that dieting and over exercising only make this worse. Okay. So restricting calories or doing too much high intensity exercises, that's stress on your body. And so that is just going to do more harm than good when when you already have high stress levels.
Hmm. Yeah, and this is something that's so common because it's kind of like the whole like what comes first, a chicken or an egg, right? Of like what kind of kicks off the process, what starts the process. A lot of women who are chronically stressed, they're dealing with all of those things that you just said, right? They're feeling kind of crummy, they're feeling bloated, they're not, going to the bathroom every single day. They're feeling fluffy, especially with like holding on to belly fat. But at the same time, right, your body is craving carbs, it's craving sugar, all of the the feelings of stress and emotional eating, because again, when your cortisol is elevated for long periods of time, your body, that signals to your body we're in survival mode, right? So if you are in survival mode and you need a quick burst of energy, where are you going to get that from? You're going to get it from carbs, you're going to get it from sugar. So it makes sense, your body is seeking out that like quick source of energy, right? And it feeds into this problem because you're like, I have all these cravings. I just want sugar. I want to eat all of these carbs, but then I also feel bloated and puffy and chubby. So then you try to do a restrictive diet. You add on the HIIT workouts, not realizing that doing that is actually making the problem worse. And that can feel really frustrating when you are trying to lose that cortisol belly, but all of the things that you are doing, all the actions you're taking, they're not helping. They're actually making it worse.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think, as women, like we we are just culturally always told we should be dieting, we should be doing this, we should be working out, and that is the problem, is that when you are in that mentality, but you are very stressed, and then on top of that you're trying to restrict calories and make it to your spin class 7 days a week, it's doing more harm than good. So, and we're going to get into this a little bit towards the end about what to do instead, but I think the other thing that's really important of how high cortisol chronic stress shows up is how it affects your energy and how it affects your sleep.
Mm.
Okay. So I want you to think about this. Like, imagine, you're going through the day, you're exhausted, you're like, "God," like you wake up in the morning, you're tired, you go to work, you're just kind of like yawning all day and you're like, God, I really can't wait to get into bed tonight. I'm going to sleep so well because I'm so tired. And you get home, you have dinner, you're like really looking forward to getting into bed. You're tired, tired, tired. And then you get into bed and you're wide awake. That is cortisol dysregulation. Normally, cortisol should be high in the morning. Okay, so you wake up, your cortisol should be elevated. That's what gets you out of bed and helps you start your day. Okay, and then at nighttime, your cortisol should naturally come back down so that you can sleep. The problem is if you're stressed all the time, your body gets confused and it will start to pump out cortisol at the wrong times. Okay, so if you have ever experienced that where you're exhausted, but you get into bed and you're wide awake, if you are chronically stressed, your body is putting out cortisol at the wrong time when you don't actually need it. Okay, and that's a problem. And the way that that will show up is, again, it's this horrible cycle of you wake up feeling like you got hit by a bus, right? Even if you got 8 hours of sleep, you wake up and you're exhausted. Because you're exhausted when you wake up, you rely on coffee, right? But it barely makes a dent in your exhaustion. So you're chugging, like you're having a whole pot of coffee. And then, but when you get to work, you're ordering coffee from Starbucks. And then in the afternoon, you're having coffee, right? So you're pretty much drinking caffeine all day, but you're still tired. And then you get a second wind of energy at night, usually around like 9 or 10 p.m. And then you start scrolling TikTok and Instagram and you're looking at emails. And that when that is the time that you really should be winding down. So when you think about it, physically, yes, your weight, your belly, your face, but then also chronic stress throws off your circadian rhythm, which means that your sleep is going to suffer. And because of that, your energy is going to be garbage.
Yeah, it's so like I'm having like listening to this and I'm having all these flashbacks to when my cortisol was chronically high of just getting out of bed in the morning felt like it was an impossible task. Like I would sleep until 8. Normally I get up early. You know what I mean? I would be sleeping till 8, 8:30, 9 o'clock. And there was just nothing that I could do to get myself out of bed. I would drag ass all day long, drink so many cups of tea. Like at one point I was, getting Monster energy drinks. Like, my name is Kyle living in, I don't know, Illinois somewhere. I don't know. It was just terrible. And just trying to figure out like how can I feel more energy, trying all of like the influencer hacks on like TikTok, and nothing was working.
Right.
But exactly what you said, as soon as I would get into bed, it was like bing, my eyes are wide open. It's like, oh, let me just do all of the things that I haven't felt the energy to be able to do during the day. So now I'm going to lay in bed at 11 o'clock at night and just try to like tackle all of it. It was a terrible cycle.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And then, that kind of bleeds into the next part, which is how stress affects your mood, your motivation, your emotions in general, right? And I think for this, it's like either you're on edge or you're completely numb and like emotionless, right? Like there's really no in between. And I'm sure that if you're listening to this, you can or if you're experiencing this right now, you know that there are times when like you're kind of fine, fine, fine. And then like you like just snap at like the smallest thing, right? It's just like there's just really there's no harmony for your emotions. Okay. And you think about it like at work, like, you're doing a presentation, it's going really well. And the next minute, you're crying to your coworker in the break room. And then you guys are like ordering Uber Eats and like bring stuff to the office and you're emotional eating. And it's just like a whole, like, it's just an emotional roller coaster. I mean, that's like the best way to just describe how you feel when you are dealing with chronic stress. Okay. So that feeling, that emotional roller coaster, that is cortisol messing with your dopamine and serotonin levels. Okay. And those are your brain's feel good chemicals. All right. So if you've experienced increased anxiety, right? Small things that never felt, like a big deal before are all of a sudden a really big deal, right? Like that one Slack message, it sends you into an absolute spiral. Okay. If you're really irritable, right? Like someone breathes near you the wrong way, it's game over. Like you want to just like smash their head into their keyboard, right? We are not promoting violence here, but if you have lack of motivation, right? Like you have things to do, but like you just have no energy, no willpower to actually do them. Like this was us like a year and a half ago. We had so much to do in our business, so much. Like every day we were like, oh my God, like we have so much to do. But then we just like weren't doing anything because we couldn't even function properly, right? And then this one is actually like this affected both of us, but you have like depression like symptoms, right? And it's almost like everything just kind of feels bleh. Like there were things that you used to look forward to, things that used to make you happy, and now it's just like it's just life is just kind of gray, it's dull, right? So if you have been feeling emotionally drained lately, if you've been feeling mentally foggy, if you've just been feeling off, um, it might not be that this is just like your age or like the season of life you're in. Like you might just be chronically stressed without even realizing that stress is the reason why you are feeling so down.
I
Okay.
think that's probably one of the hardest parts of being chronically stressed, right? You just feel like you're just not yourself anymore. And the women that we talk to, whether it's our clients or even just what we've gone through ourselves, it can just feel like, will I ever almost like get my spark back? Will I ever feel happy or excited or look forward to anything again? Because right now, everything just feels like there's it's the term, that horizonless term, right? It
Hmm.
just feels like you're kind of looking out into this abyss and there's nothing exciting, there's nothing to look forward to, even though you had stuff coming up like family dinner or a date night. Everything just felt like bland, and
Yeah.
that's a really hard place to be. So if you are feeling like that, number one, know that you're not alone. Number two, maybe start looking at, where are your stress levels? Are you feeling like you're chronically overwhelmed? If so, it might be time to change it.
Mm. Yeah. And I think, well, I'll speak for myself, but when I mean, the past 4 years, I would say, has been the most stressful period of life as an adult for me. And I think when I got to the point where I felt that way, of just kind of like bleh with everything, I don't think at first I correlated that like
Mm-mm.
depression like feeling to it's a direct correlation to high stress. It just felt like I just feel depressed. Like
Right.
I wasn't making the connection until I understood that that is a symptom of chronic stress.
Yep.
Okay. Um, and I think, to pile it on top of that crummy feeling, you might be getting sick often. Okay. So chronic stress affects your immune system and it also affects your recovery. So like if you can't recover from like workouts or you feel like you're sick and like I was just sick and like now I'm sick again, that's because you're constantly stressed. Okay. And like I said in the beginning, every non-essential function in your body essentially takes a back seat when cortisol levels are high. So including your immune system. Okay, your body is too busy dealing with that stress to focus on keeping you healthy, and that's like really sad when you think about it. And this can show up by you all of a sudden like you're getting sick more often, like every little bug that goes around, you get it, right? Like I said, slow recovery from workouts, like you're doing the same workouts that maybe you've always done, but now you're just sore all the time, you're kind of achy all the time, right? um Frequent headaches, right? Muscle tension headaches, especially in your neck, your shoulders, even your jaw, like your upper back, like having a lot of knots in your back. Those are all ways that chronic stress is showing up physically again, affecting your immune system, your body's recovery response. Um, and it's just contributing to making you feel overall pretty crappy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, listening to this, I feel like it's increasing my stress because it reminds me of Michael Scott in The Office when he's just like, "We are screwed." How, like, with the way life is for most of us, we are just like living in stress. We are living with the lion in the cave. There's really not a lot of ways that we can escape it, especially as high achieving women who are balancing so many things. It's not like you can just be like, well, I'm going to choose not to show up. I'm going to choose not to answer the Slack or respond to an email. You have to be on.
Yeah.
So, there's a difference between buying into that whole like hustle culture and being like, this is what I need to do in order to be successful, but also realizing that there are things that you can do and not like woo woo over the top, like go, sage your house and drink moon water to feel better type of like things to do. But there are actually things that you can do in order to feel better, right? We've kind of beaten you down with all of the things that, all of the ways that you can notice in your body if you are chronically stressed. But now we should probably, switch over to the positive side of things that you have the power to fix it.
Yeah, well, we can kind of play like good cop, bad cop. So
Yeah.
the good news is that your body does want to return to balance. Like your body is always going to be fighting to restore to balance, like whatever you're dealing with. Okay, so we just really have to give your body the right signals for it to feel safe and finally be able to relax. So let's dive into some realistic, like no bullshit, no woo woo, drink moon water. Let's just get into like the realistic, actionable tools that you can start using today to bring your cortisol back to normal, so you can actually feel energized and clear headed and like you have control of your life again. All right.
Yeah.
So we know chronic stress is basically, sabotaging your focus, sabotaging your energy, your metabolism, your sleep, your mood. But do you want to start going through I guess like our top five ways or five things that they can start doing today to actually lower stress and regulate cortisol?
Yes. So number one is one that you and I both had to set boundaries around. Number one is stop checking your phone or your email first thing in the morning. Okay. Because you are starting your day in panic mode. It's like the equivalent of having your boss, like you wake up in the morning and your boss is standing in your room, right? Stop. You
God,
don't
that's
want that.
terrifying.
It's creepy. In my case, it wouldn't be, a boss standing in my room, but it would be like weirdo Melissa standing in the corner, just like watching me wake up. We don't want that, right? And you and I have had to set boundaries around that because we would both, as soon as we woke up, like heart racing, grab your phone. What do I need to see for the day? But that is the fastest way to skyrocket your cortisol first thing in the morning. Okay. You don't need to check your email right away. You don't need to check your Slack. You don't even need to look at news or social media notifications before you get out of bed. Okay. I I know you probably know that logically, but I want you to understand why it's a problem when you do it, right? So when you wake up, your brain is still in that kind of like calm, semi-relaxed state, right? But the second that you open your phone, now even though like your cortisol levels are supposed to slowly rise and slowly increase as your day starts, now instead of that slow increase, now your cortisol is spiking, okay? Because your day is not starting as your own. Your day is starting with all of the external notifications, external demands, and the never ending to do list that just does not stop growing. Okay. So instead of easing into your morning, you are starting the day in reactive mode before your feet even hit the floor, right? It's terrible, right? You're inviting your boss, the internet, your mom, your dad, your sister, everybody into your bedroom to look at you as you're waking up. You don't want to do that. Okay. Now, I know that there are some people who cannot not check their notifications, right? Like you need to be on for work. You might, be in a really, high level position. You might have urgent things that are going on. In that case, I know that you need to check your phone when you wake up, but the action that you can take to prevent checking your phone as soon as you wake up is just wake up earlier. Whether it's 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes earlier, set your alarm for 30 minutes earlier than you normally wake up. That way you can give yourself that buffer time to get up, to drink a glass of water, to step outside and get 5 minutes of sunshine in your eyes, right? That type of sunlight in your eyes first thing in the morning, that helps to naturally regulate cortisol. Okay. get some movement in, whether you're just walking around your house, do, a quick stretch, or just even sit and breathe. Sit on the couch and breathe for like 5 or 10 minutes before you jump into all of the chaos of your day. Okay. You need to be intentional about setting your energy for the day and be intentional about how you want to tackle the day and get your mindset right for yourself before you let the world come in and set that up for you. That is so important.
I love that. I think that's such great advice to wake up a little bit earlier, because for me, I remember, hearing that advice before and being like, well, but I I mean, I have things I need to respond to. Like I can't just, wake up at whatever time I want to wake up and then respond to emails and Slack messages whenever I want to. Like you kind of have to be on depending on what your job is. But that advice of getting up a little bit earlier to give yourself that buffer time before the clock strikes 7 a.m. and you have to start responding to things, that's so helpful. I love that.
You know what's so funny, Melissa? Because I was actually just talking to one of my clients about this, and she said the exact same thing. She's like, I cannot not check my phone. I have to be on. Like, that's just how my job is. I have to stay on top of notifications. I don't get the opportunity to turn off. And so I said to her, okay, what time do you normally wake up in the morning? And she said, I normally wake up at 6:45, but there are some mornings where I'll let myself kind of slide and I won't wake up until like 7:10, 7:15. So if I'm sleeping in, I'm not getting up at 7:45 or at 6:45, right? And so what I said to her is, well, on those days where you're not getting up at 6:45, you're not checking your notifications for another 30 minutes when on those
Right.
days when you sleep in, just naturally, right? So what happens if every day you decided to sleep in and you just don't check your notifications for 30 minutes? Like, play that little game with yourself, trick your brain into thinking, well, that was just a sleep in day and that's okay that I didn't check my notifications. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. I never thought about it that way, but that makes so much sense.
Yeah. So that's step number 1. Like, stop starting your day in panic mode. Number 2 is something that we just talked about, right? You need to get outside first thing in the morning, right? If you are waking up exhausted and you don't know how to shift that, this is one like surefire way that you can start to reset or help regulate your cortisol rhythm, okay? So, the way your body's cortisol cycle works, it's supposed to peak in the morning, like you said, right? That's kind of what helps to wake you up. At the same time, your cortisol is supposed to start decreasing in the evening. That way you can sleep. But when you're chronically stressed, exactly what you said, that kind of gets all shifted. It gets weird. It gets messed up, right? That's why you are waking up exhausted. That's why, like you said, you need caffeine throughout the day just to function. And that's why when you get into bed at 9, 10, or 11 o'clock, you are feeling like physically, mentally, emotionally tired, but you're also wired, right? You should be winding down, but you are just wired. And now you want to like go down a rabbit hole of like the Illuminati, like you like to do it at nighttime, right? Um, so how to fix this? One of the easiest ways, and it's kind of like a very low pressure way, within 30 minutes of waking up, just go step outside, even for 5 to 10 minutes. Okay. Even if it's cloudy, it's a very short period of time. If you can only start with 3 minutes a day, start with 3 minutes a day. Work your way up. Okay. So step outside, even if it's cloudy. Don't put sunglasses on. You need to let your light take in that your eyes take in that natural light. Okay. When that happens, it signals to your brain, okay, it's morning, it's daylight, right? It's time to feel awake. And this will help to get your circadian rhythm and your cortisol cycle back to being regulated. Okay. A way that you can kind of habit stack and make life a little bit easier or smoother is by pairing this with other things that make you feel good. So if you have time in the morning, if you can get out and go for a walk outside instead of walking around your house or walking inside on a treadmill, do that because it's kind of like a bonus, right? You start off your day with some movement, but you also get sunlight in your eyes. Or stretch while you're outside, or even take your coffee outside. I have a client every morning, she sits outside, even when it's cold, she bundles up in a coat and she sits and she drinks her first cup of coffee on her deck. And it's a great way to kind of get both in.
I love that. I love the idea of habit stacking because I think one of the, I guess, most annoying things about advice like this is when you're already someone who's screaming busy and you already have so much going on, the advice of, a 20-step morning routine, um, just to lower stress. And I'm like, well, that makes me more stressed. But exactly what you're saying of habit stacking and putting these habits together, that will, it's like you're doing it all at once. And by doing that, like pretty much one new habit, you're helping to lower your stress and start your day on the right foot.
It's like a mega habit, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So we have, step one and step two to help combat this. Step three kind of tackles that issue that you were talking about, right? Of feeling like you're carrying around a cortisol belly, or you just feel like you're weak or puffy and you want to change that, right? So we already went over the fact that doing like tons of high intensity workouts, or, like workouts where you're really exerting yourself, that doesn't help. So if you do want to help your body regulate cortisol better, but you're also working towards your health and fitness goals, one of the best things that you can do is strength train like 2 to 4 times a week. Okay. If you are already feeling exhausted and puffy and drained, but you're also feeling wired, the last thing that you want to do is add on those high intensity workouts, right? So things like HIIT classes or boot camps, or, 10-mile runs every single day after work, or hour-long Peloton sessions every single day after work. Those types of intense, like high intensity, long term type of workouts, those are not helping, right? Intense exercise just spikes your cortisol even more. And that's fine when your body is already balanced, right? If you are someone that doesn't have chronically high cortisol or is not chronically stressed, but that's not fine to keep spiking your cortisol when your body is already in survival mode. Okay. So instead of doing the HIIT workouts, or, the intense spin classes every single day, switch over to strength training. That's, what you and I had to start doing instead of doing those types of high intensity exercises. So the thing that with strength training, why it's so helpful, it's going to help to, boost your metabolism. It's going to help regulate some of your hormones, but also you're building strength, right? And just building strength helps you feel stronger, more resilient mentally and emotionally. But you're doing all of those things without further overloading your nervous system. Okay. The other thing that I would suggest everybody does is just start walking. It sounds so simple. It's almost like, well, I'm not doing enough. But walking is like, that is your magic bullet. If you are not walking, you need to start doing it immediately. Even just one walk, 20 minutes a day, or 2 15-minute walks, twice a day. So important, because it's going to help you naturally lower your cortisol. It's going to help with regulating digestion, because exactly like you talked about, Melissa, right? When cortisol is high, it can impact your digestion. But it's also going to help, again, like bring down your stress levels without feeling like you're draining all of your energy in some type of a high intensity workout. The other thing that I would say is definitely mix in some type of low impact movement into your day. So whether it's, yoga or Pilates or somatic exercises or stretching, those are all really good options to, help restore your nervous system, to bring down inflammation, but to still feel like you're moving your body, right? But moving your body in a way that's working with your stress, not, not against it, not piling on more.
Yeah, I love that. And I think, going a step further, even if you have a nice blend, like for me, I do 2 days a week of full body strength training. And then the other 3 days, I'm either doing a little bit of cardio, not anything super intense, and then some yoga or Pilates, or that type of restorative movement. And it's movement that, again, like you just said, it just makes me feel good without, taxing my nervous system completely.
Yep. So that is step number three. Step number four, stop just running on caffeine and adrenaline. Okay. And you know who you are, where you don't eat all day. And the only thing that you're drinking, you're not even drinking water. The only thing that you're drinking is coffee. Okay. Number one, it's gross. Number two, it's bad for your health. If you are just starting your day with coffee and no food, what happens? You always end up crashing, and you crash hard in the afternoon, and that's where you need more caffeine to function. So like you said, you have to go to Starbucks for a Starbucks run, or you're like, Jessica from a couple years ago where you're grabbing a Monster, and that's like weird and creepy and gross. But you have to think about it this way. Your cortisol levels and your blood sugar, they are like best friends, right? They go together. If your blood sugar crashes, your cortisol levels are going to spike in order to keep you going, right? Survival mode. Blood sugar crashes, you still need to survive, you still need to keep going. So cortisol is going to increase, that way we can still keep pushing forward. Okay. In order to not cause that to happen, there are a couple things that you can do. First thing would be make sure that you are eating within 60 minutes of waking up. Okay. Do not wait until lunch. Don't be that person that's like, well, I'm going to wait until lunch, but then you don't actually eat anything except, a couple of snacks here and there until dinner. You need to eat a meal within 60 minutes of waking up. Okay. All of your morning meals should have mostly protein and healthy fats. Okay. That's going to be really helpful for keeping your blood sugar stable and keeping your cortisol level stable, right? If you're waking up and, all you're pumping your body with is carbs and caffeine, again, we're spiking your blood sugar and eventually it's going to crash. And then what happens? Cortisol spikes, and it's just this endless cycle of you feeling like shit. Okay. So a good example of like, a powerhouse breakfast that you can have in the morning. You could do eggs, hard-boiled eggs, avocado, and some sourdough toast. Or you could do Greek yogurt with some berries and chia seeds, and even a little bit of honey. Those are like two of my go-tos that I really love. They keep you full, they keep you satiated, but it also really helps to manage your cortisol and your blood sugar. Okay. The other thing that you can do that is really helpful is to delay caffeine. Okay, so instead of having your cup of coffee or your tea first thing in the water, switch to something like, definitely have a glass of water first. Bonus if it's like lemon water or lemon water with a little bit of, salt in it. That way your body like absorbs it better. When you do that and you take care of your body first with water, with good nutrients, your adrenals are going to thank you before you just kind of like pump it, full of coffee as soon as you wake up. All right. The more that you can balance your blood sugar, the more steady energy that you're going to have throughout the day, the less you're going to crash. And the fewer episodes of stress eating, stress cravings you're going to see show up. And that's going to have that spillover effect too, right? For your cortisol belly, for your energy levels, for just how you feel in general.
I can't tell you how much better I feel since I started delaying caffeine. So my morning routine used to be get up, 5:15, 5:30. Coffee starts immediately, drink it as soon as it's ready. Obviously, I would have water first, but I would still be drinking coffee within 30 minutes of getting out of bed, and then get ready and then go to the gym and then, try to start my day from there. And I reversed it recently and I started to get up, go to the gym, come home. By the time I was home, it's 2 hours since I woke up that now I'm having coffee. I feel so much more balanced throughout the day. I don't feel like I'm crashing in the afternoon. I actually feel like I have energy straight through until dinner time. And then after dinner, I feel like I'm naturally winding down. So if anything, I would say try that one because that might really just be like the most instantaneous thing that will help you start to feel better right away.
The spillover effect is just massive. We don't even realize how much better you feel by making those few small changes. And they're not even really hard. You know what I mean? It's not like it takes a lot of extra time. So that's a big one to prioritize. And then the last thing that you need to do is you need to add in little breaks during your day where you tend to your nervous system, right? If you are someone who is constantly in go mode, if you are working a high stress job, if you are always on, you probably don't even realize how much your nervous system is stuck in like the on mode all day long. So if you're someone, like Melissa said, you're feeling that wired but tired, right? Exhausted during the day. And then at nighttime, like you can't shut off. Or do a quick body scan. Like, where do you notice tension in your body? Is it in, a lot of times, especially women, we carry it in our neck, our shoulders, our jaws, right? Like a lot of times your tongue will be stuck to the roof of your mouth. Like, do a check-in and see what is going on with your body. Okay. What is your body language telling you?
Literally, as you just lifted that off, or listed that off, I was like dropping my shoulders, like unclenching my jaw, my tongue. I'm like, oh, drop it.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. But it's true. Like you don't even realize your body is physically presenting these signs and symptoms. Do a quick scan and see where your body's holding that tension. And the other thing that you need to start to like check in with is how are you feeling? Do you feel guilty when you're not doing something productive? This is a big one, especially for me, of like, okay, well, it's Sunday and it's Sunday afternoon and I should be allowed to like sit on the couch and watch a movie, but there's in the back of my head feeling like, no, but you should be working. You should be working. There's always more that you can do. Okay. If you are feeling that way, that is a good indication that your nervous system is stuck in that on mode. Okay. So there's a couple of things you can do to reset your nervous system in 5 minutes or less. The first thing, and one of my favorite things, is take 2 minutes and just step outside for fresh air, right? The sunlight, the fresh air, changing your environment, those are something that's instantly going to help reset your nervous system. Another thing, especially if you are someone where you kind of live on your phone and you're constantly getting email notifications and Slack messages and, your spouse and your kids and your siblings texting you, put your phone on do not disturb. Just set the timer for 2 minutes, put your phone on do not disturb, and just breathe. That's all that you need to do. Just a couple of slow, deep inhales, a couple of slow, deep exhales, and just give your body a second to catch up. Okay. The next thing that you can do is after you do that body scan and you realize like, where is all of this tension? Start by doing exactly what you just did, Melissa, right? Drop your shoulders, roll out your neck. That way, oh my God, it's crunching when I'm doing it. Roll out your neck, like unclench your jaw, pull your tongue down from the roof of your mouth, and just see how that feels. I have a client right now, and what I have her do, she sets a timer once an hour where she has to do all of those things. It's helped her immensely in just 3 days of doing it. Like her decision making, her stress levels, all of it. It sounds so silly, but it really does help when you start to release tension like stored in your physical body.
Can I
Okay.
add? I need to add one more to that list because it's something that mom reminds us of all the time is stop furrowing your eyebrows because you're going to get lines in your forehead.
Well, I do the opposite where you furrow your eyebrows, like you get those 11 lines. My eyebrows are raised. And so I have like the horizontal forehead lines where I'm always looking at people with my eyebrows. My
Yeah.
eyebrows.
You get that from dad.
I know. We call them stressy eyebrows. And then the last thing that you can do, you're probably not going to do this if you are in an office, unless like
I
that's the
think that you
vibe of
should
your
go
office.
for it.
But if you work from home, it sounds wild, it sounds weird, but if you can lay on the floor, like flat on your back for just like 3 to 5 minutes, but prop your foot up, like your feet up on the chair, on a couch, somewhere that's elevated. This will be something that helps calm your nervous system really, really fast. It sounds silly. Your spouse or your kids are going to walk in and be like, "What are you doing?" But just be like, it's a little bit of me time, okay? But taking those tiny breaks throughout the day, they are just mini check-in reminders where you're telling your body, your central nervous system, we're safe, we can relax. And if you are someone who is in go mode all the time, you probably need some of those constant reminders.
I love that. All I could think about with the laying on the floor for 5 minutes on your back with your feet up on the chair is like someone that's going to come out with like the lying desk where you can just
Yeah.
like lay on your back, have your feet up, and then to like calm your nervous system, but then still be able to work because that's just how we operate in today's society.
Yep.
Also, funny story. I'm not sure if anyone else has people in their life like this, but I have tried to do the whole put your phone on do not disturb thing and breathe. And as soon as I do it, I get blasted from Jess being like, "Are you kidding me? Why are you on do not disturb? Where are you? Why can't I contact you?" So I don't know how to handle that one, but
I hate it when your phone is on do not disturb. I will it's such an issue. We probably need to go to couples therapy for this. But like, why are you shutting me out? Then I'll Slack you, I'll Facebook message you. I'm like, stop setting boundaries. I don't like it. Like set boundaries for everyone else, but not for me.
well, I think that needs to be a whole other episode on boundaries and stress. But I just kind of want to recap what we talked about today, because I know that we covered a lot, but hopefully this is really helpful for you to understand that cortisol isn't the bad guy. It's actually essential for survival. But when stress becomes chronic, it starts to run the show, right? It starts to impact your brain and your metabolism and your sleep and your overall health. But the good news is, with implementing these small daily habits like balancing blood sugar by having, a better breakfast in the morning, or incorporating strength training instead of constantly doing your boot camp hit workouts, or actually giving your nervous system a break, that can help you start to bring cortisol back to normal and restore some balance for your body. So our challenge for you is just pick one thing from today's episode and actually implement it this week. Like, just start today. There are things that we have listed off that you can start right now. Maybe right now you're listening to this and you can get up from your desk and, step outside, get some sunlight. Maybe tomorrow morning you can just wait 10 minutes before checking your phone. It doesn't have to be 30 minutes. Maybe start with 10 minutes. Just give yourself 10 minutes before getting out of bed and going right to your phone. Or, just take those 5 minutes, 5-minute breaks between work meetings. So you're in between meetings, like go step outside, or just like give yourself, like lay on the floor in the middle of the office and put your feet up on the back of your chair. I don't know. But I hope that if this episode did resonate with you, if it did hit home for you, just do me a favor and share it with someone who's close to you, who needs to hear this. Screenshot it, post it to your stories, send it to your work bestie. Trust me, I know that if you are dealing with this, other women around you are probably dealing with the same stress cycle too, and they need this help. Okay. And if you do decide to try one of these tools that we talked about, send us a DM and let us know which one you did. Let us know how it went for you. If you do it for a week and you see results, like, please let us know. It means the world to us that we know that the stuff that we are teaching you is actually helping. And we would just love to hear it and be part of your journey. So thank you for hanging out with your favorite sisters today, and we'll see you guys next time.